George Gordon Meade was born in Cadiz, Spain on December 31st, 1815. Meade's military life started when he served a year in artillery before becoming a civil engineer. He then returned to the Army in 1842 as a second lieutenant. Meade's first experience with combat was during the Mexican War. Meade was completing a project in the Great Lakes region when the Civil War first began in 1861. Soon after, Meade rapidly moved up in the Army, and before long he was in charge of the 1st Corps due to Hooker being wounded at Antietam. Towards the end of the year of 1862, Meade was eventually promoted to Major General. After the Battle of Gettysburg, Meade was once again promoted to Brigadier General of the regular Army and received thanks from Congress for his leadership in battle. After the Battle of Gettysburg, Meade was once again promoted to Brigadier General of the regular Army, and he received thanks from Congress for his leadership in battle. Through the public's eye, Meade's credits were not his. Meade led much construction work and stayed in the Army after the war. George Gordon Meade died on November 6, 1872. Robert E. Lee was born on January 19, 1807. Lee grew up in Alexandria, Virginia. He was eventually appointed to West Point in 1825 and later graduated with honors in 1829. He joined the Corps of Engineers. Lee eventually married Martha Washington's great-granddaughter in 1831. In 1855, Robert was made lieutenant colonel of the 2nd Cavalry. Then Lee offered his services to Virginia in April of 1861, where Jefferson Davis made him a general in the Confederate Army.
The first day of the Battle of Gettysburg, July 1, 1863, started with 85,000 men for the Union under General Meade and 75,000 men for the Confederates under General Lee. Lee had his army split into 3 divisions led by Longstreet, Ewell, and Hill. The first fighting happened between Union General Buford and Confederate General Hill outside of Gettysburg. When Hill's troops marched toward the town, Buford's men fired on them from above. 4,000 men were taken from the Union. The Union took Confederate General Archer, who was the first officer to be taken since Lee took charge over the Confederate Army. On the second day of the battle, James Longstreet was ordered to attack Cemetery Ridge. Longstreet formed a thin, concave line to charge upon Cemetery Ridge. The Union troops had abandoned their positions on Little Round Top, and so the Confederates went for it. The Union then sent troops to defend the hill and won, but they were running low on ammo. The Union then ordered their men to charge on the Confederates with bayonets. The rebels were very surprised by this attack. The Union was able to keep their lines and positions by pushing the Confederates back. The third day of the battle began with the Federalists having secure positions, and the Confederates lost their offensive positions, but Lee had decided to mount an attack in the afternoon. Lee appointed General George Pickett to lead this charge. Pickett's division was one of the largest in the Army of Northern Virginia. The Union had strong defenses, and it was very hard for Pickett and his men to take them on. Pickett's men moved towards the Union and were shot at, but they managed to break the Union lines temporarily. Under much fire, they had to return to Cemetery Ridge, away from the Union lines. Pickett's famous charge only lasted about 50 minutes. After this battle, Lee was so disappointed that he offered his resignation to Jefferson Davis, the President of the Confederate States of America. Davis rejected his resignation. President Abraham Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address 4 months after the end of the Battle of Gettysburg on November 19, 1863. The address was given to dedicate the Gettysburg National Cemetery. It focused on honoring those who had died in the battle. The authority asked Edward Everett to deliver the main speech, and Lincoln was invited to, quote, add a few appropriate marks. Everett's speech ended up being 2 hours long, where Lincoln only talked for a little more than 2 minutes. The actual writing of the Gettysburg Address is unknown. It is believed that Lincoln wrote 2 drafts and that he made changes to the speech as he gave it. There are also some myths behind the Gettysburg Address. The importance of the Gettysburg Address is that it helped the country to realize that it's not just a collection of individual states, but in fact, it was a single nation.